So you probably won't be able to do that unless you've got a hairdryer nearby. So don't worry about rushing through, just do a bit of it that you want to do. So I would suggest today just having a go with the watercolours, and then when it's dry a bit later, go over with the fine liners. But I'll talk you through all of that. I think that's everything. Yeah. Eyes down then, everybody. Like we're in the bingo. And I will pop you onto my second camera. There we go. Oh dear, I've just lost my camera on my screen, so I hope you can all see it all right. Yeah. Yep. I've got to have it up, otherwise I'll start demonstrating in other areas of my table and you won't be able to see. So let's zoom in. And I've got a little pile of botanicals here. So I just thought I'd show you these to start off with, and you can get a few ideas of what you might like to do tonight with your layouts. So you basically are creating a bit of a brick wall. And we're going to be talking a little bit about colour. These are quite tiny. You could work bigger if you wanted to. And you can see that on this one, I just had some really good posh watercolour paper, but it was only a little broken bit. So if you have got scraps of paper, this is a really good thing to try using your scraps up. There's, like I said, different layouts. So there's different numbers of rectangles on these layouts. This one really is like a little brick wall. But these ones have got less. So, and this one, look, this has only got 4 little blocks, but it still works. So it can be something that evolves. And look at this one. So I've got a layout of 6 little blocks here, but then down the side, I've put another little 6. I didn't really know that I was doing that. I think I did this bit here and then added those on just because I probably had a bit of paint left, in the hope that it would look okay, and it looks fine. This one is part of a little book. So that, I mean, these are such nice things to send to people because they're so quick and easy to do. So this one was just a little concertina book, but I've kept all of the pages using the same colour system, but I've just done a different number of rectangles in each box. So just a one there, a 6 and a 6 and a 4. So you could even, if you made this into a little card, you could then just do a little one on the front. That would look really cute. And then I've got a much larger scale here, compared to this one. My rectangles have been done big scale. So if you're new to painting and new to watercolour, I'd really recommend going larger and perhaps reducing the number of rectangles you do, but it's up to you, just go with the flow. It does make the doodles much easier, again, if you're new to art and you're a beginner. So that's those, but in the little inchy box, so those of you that came last week will know that this little box of inchies with tiny miniature pieces of art. And for this week, again, they're done on just thick watercolour paper, and they are completely mini. So there's that one. And the idea is that I've just popped these, once I've got paint out and I'm doing a little arty thing, I've got paint on my brush, I can make these tiny little pieces of artwork that can go in this box, and they can be stuck inside a sketchbook, or they could be stuck on cards when you need it, when you're in like a card emergency. So there's a set of little rectangles without any doodles on, just playing with the paint really. This brown one's interesting. Oh, and the tiniest of little books. I haven't done anything in it, I don't think. No, I think I've just started doing little leaves in it. But again, if you've got little scraps of paper, I know some of you really like making little books, and sometimes you end up with strips of paper like this, and that's the reason that I do loads of little concertina books, is because I've got masses of strips of paper. So this is a great way of using it up. All of these projects over the next few weeks are all really good, paper user uppers. So these little cards, again, this is worth thinking about that you could go really big. I can't work out the puzzle of this. Something like that. So this was part of a bigger piece, like that look. And then I just trimmed it so you can see it's going off the edge of the paper. So I trimmed it right down after I'd done all the doodles into 3 little pieces. And this is a great way, again, of making masses of art to go on cards, but just in one kind of hit. So I've got, I love this caddy paper, which is an Indian rag paper. And it's a really nice watercolour, but what we're doing today with the fine liners, it's nicer to have smoother paper, but look, you could just pop that on a lovely little card. These little snippings would look so cute sent to somebody. That's an instant win if you've got all those little bits already in your little inchy box, just collecting tiny things. And the other thing I love about this system where you've got
Lucia,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. The raggy paper or caddy paper.
Look, I'll show you the.
I can't quite see it. Is it really, really rough? I've got some elephant poo.
Yeah, so
paper cards, which I've never used. So is that? Do you think that's the same kind of thing? It's really sort of fibrous and.
Yeah, it is fibrous. I mean, caddy paper is brilliant for watercolor because it's got sort of size in it, so it means that when you put watercolor on it, it doesn't just kind of absorb into the paper like a bit of kitchen roll. And I don't know if the elephant poo paper will be sized like this is, but this is the branding for caddy paper, so you might recognize that. You can, and the brilliant thing about it is that they quite often have, I buy it in big sheets and cut it down. Well, I tear it down and you get these lovely sort of deckly edges. I buy it in bigger sheets and make it into little cards. And then, so here's my other top like card sheet, is that on eBay, I buy sweetie bags like this instead of envelopes. And then I put it inside my handmade card inside a sweetie bag. Stick the top and then pop a label on, and it's like a really exciting envelope, I think, because I like to get that through the post. But they come in all sorts of lovely like sweetie colours. So that's if you fancy, if you're sending cards to people, I quite often buy a pack at the beginning of the year, and it's like, you know, a little pack of caddy paper, and I know that I've got my cards covered for the whole year if I've got things like this filling up my little inchy boxes. But any paper that is a bit dodgy to paint on, this would work well, because obviously you can benefit from the lovely paper. This is lovely paper to paint on, but a bit rough for our project tonight. But like I said, if you worry about, you know, if you've got lovely craft card blanks and you paint directly on them and then you go wrong, you end up chucking away loads of lovely card blanks, don't you? So that's why I use collage a lot, because I tend to get a bit overexcited. I make loads of mistakes, but this can really sort of free me up by knowing that I've got a little pile of things that if they go wrong, I can chuck them away. If they go right, I can stick them on a card. So that's all those little bits. Any questions about cards and inchies? I mean,
if you're doing a concertina card,
yeah,
do you concertina it first, the paper first, or do you concertina it afterwards?
Yes, I would concertina it first. Like, yeah, unless you wanted, like, say you were doing like a lovely long panel going all the way along. I think I'd be inclined to, you know, do all my little blocks and then once it's dry, concertina it. But if you want to work in little sections like this, I would say, yeah, concertina it first, so then you know what your working area is and you can sort of work in the middle. But the option as well is you could do a little concertina book like this, so it's not showing up particularly well, and then like the cards, just stick on the tiny, you know, some tiny little elements, and then that becomes a really cute little book with some scraps of paper underneath. So we're going into collage over the next 2 weeks, so you can kind of build all these skills up. But but yeah, that could be something to do. I just really like taking the pain out of little art projects, and I'm addicted to these tiny little inchies, and because of that, you know, they take a lot of pain out. And I quite often cut up little bits of old art as well that I perhaps would chuck away, but it's got a nice little pattern on it, and then I use those as inchies too. So that you can sort of put that in your art bank in your head, and we'll launch into doing some blending now. I haven't got a very good reach on my left hand. So for those of you that aren't aware, I am right-handed, and I've obviously broken my right wrist. So I'm working with my non-dominant hand tonight, which is my left hand. So I am a little bit wobbly, but that's all right. You know, I think it adds a bit of character. So I've got some smoothish, this isn't watercolour paper, it's smooth heavyweight cartridge paper, which you can buy in pads. It's not very expensive. And again, if you're a bit worried, working on inexpensive paper is really good, but you do want it to be a certain sort of quality so that the effect looks nice. You just don't want it to have cost you too much money. So I just buy heavyweight cartridge paper in a pad, A4 white, and this really good for this sort of thing. I've got one of my favourite brushes from Rosemary & Co, any sort of synthetic round pointed brush, and this is about a size 6, I would say. All the numbers have come off, and I haven't got my glasses on, that'd help, wouldn't it? But yeah, it's a size 6. Depending on the size of the little rectangles you want to make, it depends on the size of the brush. So if you're going really tiddly titchy tiny, then you know you could go really little with your brush. I was just going for a grab for a little tiny brush then. That's like it's a little one if you were doing miniatures. But I always work with a big brush because I think you get a lovely loose effect. So I'm just going to bring my water in here so you can see when I'm dashing into my water. Let's just talk a tiny bit about colour, because this has been the theme over the last few weeks. Actually, I'll just move that out of the way so that you can see this. So you can download this off of my website in the free stuff, but I think most of you have probably got this nearby. This is my colour wheel, and one of the easiest things to do with colour is just to use one colour. So that's kind of like the easy cop out. You can use one colour and water it down, and then get different sort of shades of that colour. The next easiest thing, this is the good news, is the thing that we're going to do tonight, which is harmonious colour combinations. Harmonious colour combinations are a collection of colours that always sit together in a group. They're always going to go together, and they operate in groups of sort of 3 to 5. So any chunk of 3 to 5 colours together are going to go beautifully together. So you could go, and they always include a primary colour. So you could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That 5 would look beautiful together. Again, you could just, take this chunk here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That chunk would look gorgeous together. So if you're puzzled about, creating a pattern like we're doing tonight, and you just don't know what colours you can use, using harmonious colours are always going to work. They'll always sit beautifully together. So we're going to mix up tonight. I think we're going to use 3 colours together. So looking on the colour wheel, what shall I go for? You by all means go for any set of colours that you like. I think I might go warm, because I feel like in February we need a bit of warmth. So I think I might, let's have a look in my colour palette. Let's go for a yellow, I think. Now this is a really good way of doing a bit of colour mixing, but equally, if you've got weird colours in your watercolour palette that you've perhaps never used before, as long as they're sort of on that harmonious scale, they're really good to try out in something like this, because they might not work. They might look absolutely terrible together, but they might look amazing and you would have never tried. So I'm going to go warm. So I'm mixing up some yellow. Let's just put my water there so you can see me dipping in. Dipping in the water and adding it to the pigment, and I'm creating a really lovely sort of puddle of, it's got to be really, really wet, watery puddle so that it can blend in with all the other colours. So I've got that yellow. So what should we go for next? So on my colour chart, I've got a kind of yellowy orange. Should we go for that? Maybe we'll go, I'm going to perhaps try, I've got this lovely bright orange. So that would still be harmonious because that's very close to yellow. You can obviously mix this as well. So if you were using a red, your harmonious colours could be the yellow, the orange and the red. I quite like to use a little bit of the colours, you know, a little bit of the colour in each. So I could add a little bit of that yellow I used and just sort of pop it in that orange. So it's a bit closer to the yellow, but you don't have to, you just have a nice little play. So we've got the yellow, we've got the orange. I'm just going to add a bit more. This orange in my palette looks the most awful colour when it's in the palette, and then as soon as you put water on it, it looks amazing. And I think there must be a lot of paint that sits in people's paint palettes that is that's the case, you know, that you just don't try it out. So I've got a bit of that. So what shall I go for next? I might just go easy and I'll just go red. So this is an alizarin crimson. And this is a colour that always pops up in watercolour palettes if you've bought a pre-made set. I think they're pretty guaranteed to have this red. For those of you on the hot and cold colour thing, this is a cold red, even though these are warm colours. It's giving us all a headache, isn't it? Right. So I've got my 3 colours. And they're all nice and puddly and liquid. So with a damp brush, so I'm just going to move my water out the way a minute. With my wet brush, I've gone into my first colour, so I'm choosing to go into yellow. And I'm just going to create a rectangle. But it's all right if it's a bit wonky. In fact, they're all going to be very wonky, and that's good. So it could be more of a square. That's fine too, and it's not particularly precise, as you can see. Without rinsing my brush, I'm going to go straight into this next colour, this lovely orangey colour, and I'm going to put the rectangle next to the first one, but it's kind of going to go a little bit wonky and just touch that first one. And you can see when they've had contact, they've only touched in one place, the colour has started to blend and pull in to that yellow. Without rinsing my brush again, I'm going into this red and then doing the same thing, doing my wonky rectangle. So this is why I could continue to teach these classes, because it's all right that they're wonky. In fact, I think it adds a bit of character to them, doesn't it? They look more illustrative. And you can see where that little wonk has touched the middle rectangle. They're all starting to sort of mix together now. But I'm not, where they've touched, I'm not doing any mixing. So when you start to sort of mix and muddle them around, the colours become less pure, I think. I sometimes do a bit of what I would call nudging. So you can, you know, sort of push a little bit of colour in just with the tip of your brush. I quite like what those are doing. So again, without washing my brush, I'm going to go back into the yellow. So now I'm going to get a different version of the yellow, and I'm operating just below. And it's going to have, this one's going to have a wonky top because I want it just a touch. And they're sort of the same size, but maybe, you know, you could have little short rectangles here, little squares on your bottom row. You can really play with just changing one element. I think I'm going to go, we're going to mix it up a bit now and just go into the red without washing my brush. And again, I'm going to do a wonky rectangle. To get the blend, you can see that I'm just sort of pushing the puddle around, but you do need to get them, the watercolour needs to be really wet to stay wet whilst you're painting. Because as they start to dry, they obviously don't mix so well. I'm just pushing that over, so I've got contact, this one has got now contact with two little rectangles. So my last one, I think I'll go in with that final colour. So you can, I've chosen to go for 3 colours, but you can do more. So, you know, we could have mixed up maybe another version of orange or a darker red. Remember colour theorists on our colour theory sketchbook class that to make the red a bit darker, you'd add a bit of green, tiny bit of green to it. So you can see this one hasn't quite married and met up with the side of this box, but it doesn't matter. I could extend it a little bit, I might do that. But they're not bang on, they're not mathematically there, and that's fine. So the thing is with this way of working with watercolour is it's just important not to interfere with the colours, and as the water starts to evaporate, the pigment gets left behind, it will lighten. So I always quite like going in with reasonably intense colours, knowing that they probably will get about 3 times lighter. So that's the first little one. I'm going to clean off my colour now, and we'll just try another one with some different colours. And we're going to do a something called well, there's different names for it. I don't know what it would be classified as. Maybe a split complementary harmony, that might be the technical term. We'll just go for some contrasting colours to this. So this is a nice warm combo. I'm going to go a bit bluey and greeny now. Maybe we'll try 4 colours. Let's do that. So let's do, actually I quite like this cobalt blue. I'll bring my water in. There we go. So you can see when I'm dotting back. So I've got cobalt blue, and again, that's another colour that always pops up in watercolour palettes, and it's the colour that looks very much like a primary school painting, sort of sky blue, or sky blue on a lovely sunny summery day. So there's our puddle of that one. So what should we do as another one? Maybe a green. So I've got lots of pre-mixed greens, and I expect you have in your palette as well. So again, like I said, this is a great way of trying some out. I love this one. This is sap green, but I've also got hooker's green and olive green and viridian, which is like alien green. So I've got a couple of colours there. So what shall I do with those? Well, perhaps we'll do a bit of colour mixing and change that green a little bit so that it's not just out the palette, and I'll mix a bit more of it up. And then that yellow that we used before, we could sort of stick that in. So I get kind of a, you can't see it so well there, but this is sort of more, it's not as bright on the camera, but it's more of an acidy spring green. So I've got 3 colours. I've got spring green, green, the cobalt blue. Maybe I'll go for like a bluey green. Should we try that one? So here we go. It's something that I really like to do if I can't be bothered to do a lot of colour mixing, is to use the colours that I've got and then just change them up a little bit by adding a harmonious colour to it. So we know that they already go together, the green and the blue. We've got them on their own. We've got the green mixed with the yellow. So I'm going to take a little bit of the green and I'll stick it in the blue, and then we'll get like a bluey green. So we've got sort of a few variations of that. Okay, good to go. Puddly consistency. With all this mixing, I've forgotten to add lots of water. So I've got movable puddles. Okay, so I'm going to start with my lighter colour. Let's move my water out of the way. So let's try, I'm going to try doing some little boxes, more boxy. It's such a beautiful colour. Does it? Oh, it does. It has come out quite nicely. So this was the sap green mixed with, for you watercolour specialists there, Hansa yellow medium. So without rinsing my brush, I'm going to go into that lovely green. Put my rectangle next door and wonk it a little bit so that there's contact. Square. So this is the problem that I've got with my left hand, is that I can't finish off, I can't do a horizontal stroke. It's weird, isn't it? Not washing into the blue. All the while it's picking up and all these colours are mixing. Actually that blue has gone not blue at all, but green. Okay. I might just pick that blue up again. This is the nice thing, that there's no, you're sort of looking at your piece of work and then you think, well, that's a yellowy green. I don't want to put another yellowy green underneath. I want a contrast. I mean, contrast. They're not that contrasting, but you do want to have that slight difference in colour. And then I'm going to, oh, I didn't do the dark one, so let's try the dark. All very similar, but there's very subtle differences. And like I said, as they start to dry, the differences become more pronounced, and also that little bit of colour mixing that I did, in some colours they're very granulated, so that means that when the pigments start to dry, they give sort of a lovely grainy finish. And when you mix colours, they tend to get grainier. You can probably, oh no, you can't really see because you've got the shine of the light on here. So keep touching those little boxes. And so what happens is, if you're mixing colours, firstly, they always look much more interesting. But then as they start to dry, the pigment particles in each colour are a different size. So they tend to push against each other and agitate each other and create more of this lovely granulated texture, which I think is just beautiful. I've got some colours that do that a lot, like cerulean blue, which is another lovely sky blue colour. And the French ultramarine blue, which is like a sort of a navy blue. That is a very granulated colour. Okay. There's my very wibbly wobbly boxes. So you've got such a shine on those. Well, I hope yours are going okay. What I'm going to just do with these is just an extra little thing. So I said we were going to do a complementary harmony. So on the colour chart, I've used greens and blues. So I'm going to pick a colour on the opposite side of that little grouped harmony. I'm going to pick a warm, a sort of a little orange, a rusty colour. So on the colour chart, whichever harmony you've created, look on the other side, the opposite side, and just pick any colour out of your box to drop in. So I've got a, so it could be orange, it could be something like this, burnt sienna-y brown, and I'm just going to touch this contrasting colour into the wet squares. So this is just a little variation that you could do, but it's a really great way of playing with complementary colour systems because there's no pressure. It adds a really interesting dimension to the piece and a little bit of sort of visual complexity, which your viewers will love. But you've had a nice time doing it and it's not, you know, not broken the creative bank. But you can see I'm not mixing that complementary in, I'm just touching the paper. So if I'd done a complementary for this one, this warm one, looking on the colour chart, so I went for these warmer colours here. So the complementary might be dropping in a little bit of green or blue into there because it's completely opposite side, just to get that little kick of contrast. And again, as that dries, it's another little bit of pigment that pushes against the colours, so you get a lovely blend. Right, how are we going for time? Okay, so we're going to go to 8 o'clock, and then if any of you want to show anything, you're very welcome to, but I'm going to be racing through now so that we get it all in the vid. So don't worry if your colour combos are still wet. I'm going to show you a little bit of the pen work and some finishing touches. But feel free just to carry on making some little systems like that. I'll just quickly show you whilst I'm sort of fiddling about. This sketchbook, so the other thing is you can do it in a sketchbook, so which, you know, I love sketchbooks. So I think this was probably the demo for the last session that I did, where I was just demonstrating different sort of lines that could be done and little blocks that could be done. And then what some of the colours look like when they're dry. And I really just, you know, when they're wet, these colours looked terrible. And this is the problem with watercolour, is that sometimes you feel like you need to fiddle about with it a bit. But when you do that, you're not allowing it to sort of do its watery work. I think this one looked terrible as well when I did it. And this one I wasn't sure at all because I'd added this little bit of rusty orange into it as a complementary and it looked awful. And then I think that's probably my favourite. So I honestly think that every time I do something that looks bad, when it dries, it's, you know, then make the judgment on it. But even if it looks a bit rubbish when it dries, we're going to overlay it with other stuff. So, and this green worked really well with dropping little bits of pink in. So it's just such a nice way to play with a box of paints and find out which colours work together and which colours don't. So, oh, just very quickly, we've obviously been going from paint to pen. So we've laid the paint down first. But this afternoon, I got my daughter to draw lots of little wiggly flowers on the same piece of watercolour. So this is heavyweight cartridge paper. So if you had little doodles like this, you could still, I'll just do this very quickly, you could still add your little box system over the top so that you're not colouring in the doodles. You're just painting your blocks. So this could be another form of experimentation for you for a little greetings card. Because if you've used the waterproof fine liners, then they're not going to budge. So overlaying paint and not colouring in can be a really nice thing to do. I've got a bit freestyle here, look. Same sort of techniques, but just gone like super wonky. Now, you regulars will know that I'm always a fan of a project that doesn't involve lots of getting out of ink and paint. I do love an inky, messy project. I like to sit on the sofa in the evening and sort of doodle and potter away with things. And so doing these little flowery doodles are really nice to do just with a little drawing board on your lap whilst you're watching a little box set. Glass of wine by you, lovely. I hope you've got a little glass of something by you this evening, or maybe a cup of tea. For those of you in Australia and America, probably you haven't, because it's like, well, in Australia, maybe 6 o'clock in the morning. So I hope you haven't got a glass of gin. Okay, so this is here's one I did earlier. The pigments are completely dry. You see I've done a little line there, which I love doing these lines because I think they look really great as a title in a sketchbook. So you could then write the month and the date on there, or you could write happy birthday, or stamp with lettering, you know, the little rubber stamps, happy birthday on top. That would look really nice. So everything's all dry. I'm picking up my flower doodle sheet. So you've got this one loitering around, and it's a really useful reference because I always struggle to come up with ideas, and to have a reference sheet that you can just peek at is a really good cheat. And you can go onto Pinterest and you can go into Google Images and just type in flower doodles and print out loads. So I'll just move that out of the way. So know that I've got I don't think you can see it, or you can, I'll just pop it in the side there, so I've got it nearby. And really it's just about playing with different flower combinations. So looking back, I've never had a plan. I'm grabbing some of my examples here. I've not had a plan on any of these. I've just usually put one flower in and then thought, well, I need another little bit there or another little bit there. So it's always just good just to stick one in. Sometimes they go over 2 shapes. Sometimes they just poke into one. These are semi-confined to each of their little boxes. A few of them just pop out the side, which I really love, that idea that they're just escaping. I'm always sticking the large element in first, and then I know I can fill in spaces with smaller decorative elements. So it's always good to go big. Like this one here goes over the whole area and pops out the side. I think this one that I chopped up, I don't think they really went over any area. They were just doodles all over the pattern. So really, you literally cannot go wrong. So I'll pop these all on. I think you've actually got these on your handout, some of these, but I'll stick the little ones on Instagram so you can have a look. This one I particularly like. It's just one of those things that it just goes like that, doesn't it? You know, you don't plan it. I put a P in because I was going to put this on a card for my mum, and her name is Pam. So just so I haven't filled in all this area except for the letter P, just added 2 little entwined stems, and very simple. Look, 3 leaves in 3 squares. That one's a bit more, you know, flower in each box. So I'm using fine liners. I've got a 0.5 and a 0.1. The bigger the number, the larger the nib. And I'm starting with my larger nib. it's really good to have a couple of different sizes. So I've obviously got a brown fine liner, you can use any colour, because you get a lovely contrast in line. So, oh, I haven't practiced this. I've been trying to practice all the little bits with my my left hand. I'm just looking at reference. What can we do? What can we do? Oh, we're gonna have to move this so I can see it. Oh, I quite like that little one with the berries. So I'm going to have to anchor my paper down a bit more. So I'm going in. So this, I've just gone for it. This stem's going to go over the whole piece. So I'm just glancing at my ref, doing the large part of the stem with my thicker pen. I'm going to just add some little leaves and berries, I think. So I could happily sit and do this for about, well, the rest of my life. So happy just having a recipe that I know every time I do it, it will result in a nice card. This has been tried and tested on my daytime group, who are my lovely guinea pigs, and they tell me honestly if it's rubbish. That's a good thing, isn't it, when you know somebody well. Talking of which, my friend sent me a message yesterday, and I do know her very well. I've known her since I was really young, and the message was, "How are you getting on wiping your bum?" I didn't know what to say to it. Well, it's quite tricky, really. Okay. So I swapped over pens quickly then when I was talking about bottoms. And I've gone in with my thinner pen now, so I've got all the bulk of my leaves and my stem, and I'm adding some tiny little details, colouring in the sides of leaves, veining. Those of you that are with me normally, you will know why this works. It's because there is an element of visual contrast. So I always spout on about it, but it's so important. And when you look at art, it's always quite good fun to identify where the element of contrast is. So what's your eye drawn to? Is there a horizontal with a vertical? Are there contrasting colours? Is there a harsh element next to a softer element? And for these illustrative works, there is sort of the freedom of the watercolour that's contrasting with the tightness of these little doodles. And then within each of these little doodles, there are contrasts too, because there's the thick line and the thin line. Now this project is really similar. Some of you that have done the little typewriter project, this one is like a reverse of the typewriter project, where we were using complementary colours, we're using harmonious colours, dropping in complementary, but we were doing it on a structure that we'd already created. So we're sort of reversing it out now, really. Oh, I could just do these little doodles for ages. This is exactly what we need, isn't it, everybody? Just very cathartic. And the nice thing about projects like this is that if you're somebody who's got lots of art experience, it's enjoyable because it's just so relaxing to know that you haven't got to create something that looks like something else. It's slightly abstract. It's nice to follow a recipe when your brain's not working properly, which most of us, we're all a bit addled, aren't we? And if you're a beginner, again, the recipe system works really well because there's so many little things that you can change and tinker around with, and know that it's a really great learning curve to build up some colour knowledge, build up your paintbrush confidence, build up your fine liner confidence. These little doodles are so great to play with. Okay, so I've done that one there. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to just do a few little doodles in this square now. What should we go for? I'll fill one in. Oh, I'm going to come out on this one. Sorry, if you heard that, that was the cat sharpening her claws on my chair. I'm sure lots of you have got reference books and the adult colouring books are a really good source of doodles, if you've got any of those, and some of the children's colouring books, but you can also get ideas from looking through gardening magazines and just seeing the shapes of stems, and by simplifying them in your head, thinking what would they look like if they were a doodle, that can give you loads of inspiration. But I do find that it's nice to have that little trigger, isn't it? You know, it's nice to have a reference so that you can, your brain's not got a, it can work out, well, it only needs to do the nice stuff, doesn't it? If you've got a reference, it just needs to make nice decisions rather than hard ones. Okay, that's that little one. What am I going to do with that then? Okay, right, I'm swapping to my little one. The nice thing about this project too is that if you're sending cards or you were using it in your sketchbook, you can pick some of the colours of the season, so you can create a wintry foliage effect and use holly and sort of little fir sprigs. If you were creating a summer or a spring one, you can obviously use appropriate colours and floral tributes. So this would be really nice for, but well, obviously all birthdays, but also Christmas and Mother's Day and Easter, and could you do it for Valentine's Day? Oh, I think you could. Anniversaries, big birthdays. It's a multifunctioning card. Right, I'm just going to do another little sprig and then we'll add a few more details. Well, that one went that way. I might have to have one going that way. So the world of fine liners is one that I would like to live in. I quite often go and look at fine liners on the Cult Pens website because you can get loads of different colours. So there's another swapping in element. What happens if you change the colour of the fine liner you're using? So perhaps if you used a blue colour palette, harmonious blue colours, but used also a blue fine liners, that would look very icy, wouldn't it? But if you used red and blue, that could look interesting. I've been doing lots of an alarming art over the last week that I've been doing with my left hand. I tried to do sort of an expressive painting of some fruit today in my sketchbook, which was very alarming. And I ended up throwing brush pens at it, chalk, pastel, watercolour, different coloured fine liners. And I wasn't sure if any of them would go, and it turns out that none of them did. So now I know, I've learnt.
Question on the chat.
Yep.
Which pen website for coloured fine liners?
Oh, so just again, the question on the chat was which pen website for coloured fine liners, and that is Cult, C-U-L-T, Cult Pens. They are a UK company. I know that they would ship worldwide, but it might be that if you're abroad, you from me in England, obviously you're not abroad from yourself, In other countries, I think if you just Google coloured fine liners. I know that Unipin, which are this brand, do lots of different colours. Zig also do some colours. So this is Zig, well, Zig are brilliant with pens generally. So these are blue ones. I've got blue, orange, black, grey, pink fine liners. The thing that's most important to me in a fine liner is that they're waterproof, because I use lots of watercolour. So I always make sure that they're waterproof. And I always get a couple of sizes as well. So if you do buy them, buy one chunkier size, maybe 0.5, and one fine nib. So I've got a 0.05, which is like a little tiny fairy nib. Let's do a little sprig. Oh, that looks quite nice with the blue. Well, you can't see it very well on the screen. That's quite exciting. Your butterflies flown in. I'm going to take it out. So I do really love this escaping foliage. Okay, last little bits and pieces then before we have a show and tell is that you could just leave it like that. So that's the sort of basic recipe. But I always, more is more in my book when it comes to illustrative arts, and I do like just to keep fiddling with things. So this one, you can see it's got lots of little tiny white dots and white elements, and I've just done that with a Posca paint pen. So you can also use jelly roll white pens. The Posca paint pens are this. So this is a really tiny one. It looks like it's a bit gloopy actually. Is it going to be all right? Yes. This is a really small nib, and it's a 0.7 mil nib, and it's called ultra fine. If you're just looking on the website, it's the smallest size that they do, and it's perfect for doing little tiny dots. And they come in all different colours. I haven't got many colours, but I just love the white one. So just by adding a few little white dots, if you've got little areas that you feel need a little bit of something, but you don't want to add more foliage, and little white dots can look fantastic. Or colouring in, not all the leaves, but maybe just one or two, maybe a selection that carry your eye up. I quite like to add a few little dots around where all the berries are as well. You can get lovely a red version of this, which is also one I've got. So I think I've just got a red and a white and maybe a turquoise. But the red is really good for little holly berries and foliage berries. I think some of you did a paper craft class with me a few years ago where we made these miniature sledges, full of presents. They were just, we spent basically a whole day painting this miniature sleigh and then covering it in a million tiny white dots, and it looked fantastic. So I'm addicted to dotting. So that could be one little way of embellishing. But equally, if you've got other coloured gel pens, that can look fantastic too. So for those of you that did my little angel workshop at Christmas, might have purchased yourself some of these sparkly gel pens. So they're great too, but any gel pen. So I think I'd even go in with a bit of fluorescent. So you can add little sparkly elements. So let's just zoom in a bit. So you could paint some of your leaves. So this is the magical bit of the magical blended botanicals. It's adding a little bit of glitter if you fancy it. I like adding these little kind of blocks of sort of glitter. I feel like they carry your eye. So again, keep looking away from it and think, oh, I've got a little bit there, so maybe I'll have a little bit up here. So I definitely think this one needs some sort of a little line or a little block. So yeah, these gel pens are really good, and you can buy them individually for about £2. I particularly like the gold and the silver ones of those. So that could be an option. You might have gold gouache or gold acrylic that you could add to it. I have got some of this lovely Calero, Fine Tech Calero. Oh no, these are Tandy ones. But the Calero is the sort of main brand, Fine Tech Calero, and you can buy individual discs of Calero for about £3 to £4. So you could just buy one little beautiful gold disc. And these are gold, well, they're metallic watercolours. So they are exactly the same consistency as the watercolour that we've used, except some of them are a little bit more opaque, but they do sit beautifully. They're pure. They don't have any chalk added to them. They're pure mica with a bit of gum arabic. And you can see, oh God, isn't that lovely? Ooh, like a beautiful golden, literally it's like melted gold. And so this sits really beautifully on. I've got a set of these which have got coppers in them. And on the, if you were doing an autumny, little autumn composition, the coppers would look beautiful. And you can get them in colours too, like metallic versions of the colours. So you could then add, you know, little metallic green leaves. And just add a few gold leaves, but they really do. I mean, these are lovely in their own right, especially when you spend time doing your doodles. When you add a little bit of something else to it, whether it's paint pen or a little bit of gold, they do become really special. And you know that I love it when you do a bit of art. It's not massively complicated, but whoever looks at it is just completely blown away by the seeming complexity of it. They just think it's beautiful and they can't figure out how you've done it. It's always in the process of layers. What am I going to do with that? I feel like this one needs a stem, so let's do it. This is definitely hard. Paintbrush drawing with your left hand. You get the gist. So lines as a pattern element, lines, boxes, little dots all work really well, and they really help to carry the eye through. And like I said at the beginning, you can also add rubber stamps on top of this. It's a great background if you buy a little pack of alphabet stamps to send messages and put someone's name, or just one initial letter like I'd done for my mum. I've drawn this one, but I think I'm going to be doing a lot more stamped letters rather than drawn letters over the next few weeks. So that's the thing I can't do with my left hand, is write. I can draw and paint, not too bad, but the writing is a problem. So I think that was all of the things I needed to show you. Well, this was the copper. I couldn't find my box of paints, but you can see that lovely copper on there. I'll put another link when I send the information out to you with the video. I'll put another link on with what all these little bits are, so you can have a look. I like to sort of dig around and see what I've got rather than buy new stuff. And I don't like recommending, you know, just go out and just keep buying lots of art stuff, but stuff that's really good and that you'll use a lot. I think, I mean, my metallic watercolors are I just love them. And whatever card you make, if you just add a little bit of sparkle to it, any project. I just seem to, I could easily use them on every single project I do, and I've got to stop myself. So, right, so we're just at 8:05 now. So I will just quickly show you next week's project if you fancy popping along, because we're working with colour a little bit more. We're doing these little boozy bottles. So again, a brilliant option for birthday cards and little books, because I know loads of you like making tiny little books. So we're going to be adding collage, we're going to be overlaying pigments, we're going to be mixing and muting pigments, having lots of fun. So if you fancy coming along to that, dig out lots of little bits of old paper, and if you've got stamps and stuff like that, we'll work on that project. Okay, right. So hello. I'm back again. So if you we've reached our 1 hour session now. So if you need to go and have your tea and put children to bed and things like that, then please feel free to sign off. But if you'd like to stay a little bit longer and see, lots of people enjoy showing a little bit of work. So if you'd like to share a bit of work and see people's work, then please feel free to stay on for another 10 minutes.
I'd love to show you my work, but do you mind waiting a couple of hours and so it doesn't
Well, why don't if you come next week, Lee, you could show us next week if it's a bit runny. But I'm sticking my gallery on now because I know that this is probably going to be a bit of a nightmare to show. But if you have got a dry piece you'd like to share, just hold it up to the camera. I've got Jenny Alman. I am going to have to put my glasses on as I can't see your name. I'll pop you on a spotlight. There you go. I'm just going to remove my spotlight. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's beautiful.
I've never done anything like that before, so I really enjoyed it.
You've done a great job. And look at that beautiful gold.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough, I've got some micro thingy, lots of these. So I thought, oh, I shall dig some of those out, and it works quite well. I haven't got it fine enough, but I don't mind that. I can easily get a fine brush, but I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Thank
and it's
you.
always good just to have a play during a workshop,
Yeah,
isn't it? Get all the techniques down
definitely.
and have a go in your own time and sort of, yeah.
So I did some block work, which I've not done before, so I was quite pleased with that. I shall have some fun with that.
Yeah, fantastic. Well done, Jenny. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else like to just hold up to the camera? I've got Julia's iPad.
Oh, yes, that's me.
Oh, nice.
Oh, they look lovely.
Oh, I love the circles.
Yeah.
I just, if somebody tells me to do something, I do the opposite.
Well done.
I like it.
It's gorgeous.
It's lovely. I'm only just recently doing watercolors, but I just bought these. I saw them on Instagram, and you were saying about the metallics. They're by Arteza. Look.
Oh, they're gorgeous.
Ooh, nice.
Good grief. It's like a jewelry box.
Yeah, they were a bit expensive, but I've got a birthday in May, so
So it's all right.
You'll have forgotten by May. But I just
birthday in May.
On the green. Can you see the?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Little bits there. So no, it's lovely. Sorry, it's my first session with you, and it's
Me too. It's good, isn't it?
really lovely.
Well,
I normally do big stuff, you know, big.
It's nice. Yeah, it's nice to do something a little bit tiny.
More controlled.
Thank you so much for sharing, Julia.
Yeah,
gorgeous.
Thank you. That's lovely. I'll join another one at some point. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Corinna. Oh, look at that.
Nice.
That's a beautiful little blended bunch.
Oh, there we go.
You've got a really interesting combination of colours there. Not too muted.
We'll see how they are when they're dry.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I like all of them, but the ones at the top are really really interesting, where there's like a little peachy element.
Yeah, that was the orangey terracotta colour, but it's interesting to see how it's coming out.
Yeah, it's lovely.
The complimentary. Oh, I'm struggling, but I'm working on it, Lucia.
Doing it. Good girl. Anybody called you a good girl for a while? Somebody on
I've never been called that.
someone on Instagram called me a clever girl this week. And I
Oh,
really loved being called a girl.
Aw.
I was so excited. I haven't been called that for about 40 years. So
Sorry,
if anybody
wait.
else likes to...
You will arrive at the point where you're called old girl.
Oh, God.
oh.
It's like in France when they suddenly know when to stop calling you mademoiselle and they call you madame, and it's like, oh God.
Hi, Liz. I've spotlighted you, Liz. Oh, sorry, you're muted, Liz, so we can't hear you.
Press the space bar and hold it. Oh,
Oh, no, we still can't. We still can't.
it did work. Sorry.
But your work, so that's okay. But your work is really beautiful. I really love their colour
Oh,
comments.
that's
You've done
lovely.
Oh,
circles
my
as well.
circles are amazing.
Oh, don't they look fantastic? And I love seeing where that part touches. Oh, they're
No.
lovely
So
colours.
beautiful.
Gorgeous, Liz.
Really well.
Fantastic. Sign language, universal sign language. Okay, right. Just popping through the gallery, just checking in to see if anyone else would like to share. Oh, we've got Malika. Oh, how those are beautiful, Malika.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, thanks.
Good.
Louise bought me this class as a present, so thank you, Louise, if she's still here.
Well done, Louise. Those are beautiful. And you've done them in a sketchbook, which is really nice to see.
Yep.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
lovely.
Okay.
Gorgeous. Thanks so much. Okay. Anyone got any dry? Oh, Daisy. It's always interesting to see what other people have done, isn't it? Oh, lovely colours, Daisy. They're beautiful.
I love those shades of grey blue. They're beautiful.
They are stunning, aren't they? And really interesting where you've got that little panel of warmth in the bottom, your green bottom left. Really lovely. Gorgeous. Thanks so much. Okay, just checking in. Oh, Ali.
Oh,
so
nice.
little. Gosh, the colours are lovely. And I love that turquoisey effect. So pretty.
All right, thank you. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, bless you. So are you going to stick that in a sketchbook, or do you think you might chop them up?
Yeah, it was. I've just used the back of something really old, and I was like, oh, I hate
Right.
chucking away stuff. So I was like, I'll recycle it. And
Well done.
I've done some of your sketchbook. I did all 3 of your sketchbook classes, which I loved.
Good.
And
Oh,
been rewatching them and taking on board.
Great.
It's really good because it's just such a strange time, and it's just great to zone out because I'm schooling 2 children and it's just horrible.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to have something for me. So I highly recommend if anyone hasn't done them to go and have a look at them.
Oh, thank
Really
you.
good.
It's really nice to, I think it just helps your head, doesn't it? To
Definitely.
Switch off.
A bit of a fog at the moment, and I've just got really back into my art, which over the last sort of well, since Christmas really. So it's been really good.
Yeah. And it's nice if you can't, we can't get to art classes, so it's so nice to be able to connect with people in the, it's always a bit of a compromise on a Zoom class, but this is why I like doing this bit at the end. It's it's nice to have that connection, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's really helpful. Yeah.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I want to give you
But
a
it's
hug.
nice to be able to do a class within your own home as well.
Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? Because you can just wear your pajamas. We're all a bit fed up
Yeah.
wearing pajamas.
Yeah.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Do you know what I love about all these online art classes?
Yes.
Is that you don't have to pack up all your stuff, put it all in the trolley, chuck it in the car, drive to the place, take it all out the vehicle,
Try and park.
to the place, Go and do this, and then you got to do it all again. Yeah, I mean, here I just
that's
sit in my
what I like.
neck, and you just don't have to move. It's brilliant.
It's fabulous.
It's opened a door, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The good thing about lockdown is that we've got this open door to all these things.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's international.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we love all our international friends popping on and saying hello, even when it's like 2 o'clock in the morning for some of you. Oh, I've just spotlighted someone. I don't know who I've spotlighted.
Claire.
Oh, they're
Hello, Claire.
nice.
Hello,
Yeah,
Claire. Oh, those are
so
nice.
That dried.
Little chain reaction.
Yeah, I did it with this one where I held it up so the colours,
Oh, they sort of all blended down.
and I've done the same. I've used scrap paper,
Yeah, so same
and
as
then I did a little frontispiece that dried really quickly. The caddy paper.
Yeah, it does dry very quickly, which can
Yeah.
be tricky because you then have got to work really quickly. But I just love the effect of the texture.
It didn't blend as well, so I zigzagged in between.
Oh, well done. Good
And
freestyle.
that was nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
I
like
really
stickle.
enjoyed it. It was lovely
Oh.
class.
It's this is for those of you that have done the sketchbooking one, this is obviously a different sort of format whereby it really is sort of meditational, I think, almost, that you can really lose yourself in the process. But because it's got a reasonably simple process, it means it gives you room to experiment more. You know, if you're only dealing with very small structures and small compositions, there's so much freedom there just to change the colour in or change a pattern. But otherwise, I could happily sit with a cup of tea when my head's feeling a bit, you know, like Ali's, well, we all are like it, we're a bit foggy or a bit overwhelmed, to sit and, you know, really gently just move the paint around is really lovely. I'm going to do a meditative drawing session in the next few weeks, which I need to sort of do some examples of, and it's the same sort of thing. It's that same process of that there might possibly, you know, it's more about the process rather than the end result, but the end result is a surprise, and I think that can be a really nice thing to do.
I think as well that you end up with something at the end of it, because very often you just, like the lady said, I end up with a lot of stuff that I don't like, and then I don't want to chuck it, but I've got no purpose for it. So if you end up with something that you can then send to somebody or put on a card, you're kind of doing it but getting rid of it at the same time.
I know, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a really nice idea.
One of the weekly ladies in my live class, my used to be live class, she sends loads of handmade cards, and she just got completely addicted to these, and it sorted her out for a whole year. She just, time she had a cup of tea, you know, she'd put an hour aside and just make a load of, and then just chop them all up into little bits.
Yeah, they're lovely.
Whole postcards and stuff like that.
Because I'm a beginner and so many things don't turn out quite as I expect them to, I'm being religious about using the sketchbook I bought when I first started, so I can't throw it away. I've got to keep them all.
Is yours looking dry yet, Lou? Are you happy to show it?
Sort of, yes. Hang on. Actually, there's no right way up or wrong way up. There is a bit of a puddle.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, they're nice.
Combos, Lou.
I've got combo there, and there's one I did earlier, like you, but I did it much too pale.
Yep.
And then there is metallic on there, but it's not really.
I can see, yeah, the metallic looks nice.
But my white pens don't seem to work. I've got Posca.
You've had a problem with your white pens.
Yeah, I've got a Posca, and I've got a Pilot Pintor, and I've got the gel pens as well. None of them seem to work. They don't like me at all.
I don't know why that is. No. Unless you obviously on the they literally just don't come out, or they just don't
all I get is sort of liquid rather than white liquid. Yeah,
give them a good shake. Oh, that is rubbish.
Yeah, I do it on other paper first, and I'll get one dot, and I think, well, it works, and then I do it, and I'll get one white dot, and then it goes back to just the clear liquid.
Are you storing them nibbed down? Do you store them?
No, my jelly rolls are flat. They're still in the box, and I
don't know if that would make a difference storing them down.
Well, two of them I've got nib up. Maybe I'll try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very guilty of serious pen abuse and nib abuse, and mine work all right. So I think probably you're treating yours much better than I just don't understand why they're not working for you. It's like
maybe I'm not using them enough.
Like the curse of the white pen, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Weird.
Anyone who would still like to show anything, just hold your paper up and I will. Oh, I've got Kerry and Cora. Oh, those are beautiful.
Oh, wow. So
Lovely combos. Really nice, ladies.
So I did this.
Is this yours, Cora?
Yeah.
she's loved it, Lucia. She's been sitting beside me all evening saying, I'm loving this. This is fabulous.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh,
Well, Cora, it's
nice?
really showing in your work. I love all the blends that you've got, the different colours.
I'm loving this. Oh, bless her.
It's a fantastic sketchbook experiment page.
She said she wants to show you something else. So she was doing during the week.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
nice.
Oh my
I
goodness.
haven't
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Cora, that's so beautiful. So I love all the negative space that you've got in
Look
between.
at
there
that.
as
She's
well.
drawn.
It's just fabulous.
She's done bamboo. She's only about 10.
Cora,
Yeah.
you know I said last time you're not
11.
allowed to come again.
11.
You're just too
Yeah.
good. Definitely golden paintbrush goes to Cora today.
No, well, do you know what? Going back to what was just said a wee minute ago about not having to pack your stuff up, I totally agree. I would have done a lot of workshops down at our local art centre, and in the winter time in particular, I've always found it hard to get the dinner over and get out the door and down there, and I always love it when I get down there, but this is so much better sitting in your house and you don't have to pack the stuff up. And I just like even last week with half term and the kids were off school, and I thought, brilliant, I'll get lots of time to do art, and I didn't do any other than your class last week. So it's lovely having the set time where you sit down and you dedicate an hour and you actually do it. So
I hope you're going to carry on after we're actually allowed out.
Yes, I definitely am. Yes.
Oh, good. Thank God for that.
I've got too many ideas. That's the problem, and nothing to do with them. So they have to turn them into art classes.
Yay!
Yay! We like that.
Very good.
Yeah, there's loads. I'm just thinking about like an ongoing journal project about sort of simple pleasures and building these like little mini books and stuff, and they'll be each one will be like a set of lots of little art projects. So if you do all of them, you build a really beautiful big art project, but you could just pop in and out and just do one or two, you know. I quite like it when projects work like that you can just dip in and out if you want to. Yeah, because I'm like a serial overcommitter. I bet some of you are like that too. I've just got like a nodding head like this that goes, yes, I'll do that, yes. And so I need to have dip in and out projects. Anyone else like to show? I don't want to leave anyone else. Pippa? Hang on a minute. I'm slow-mo on my spotlight. Oh, Pippa, that's gorgeous.
Oh, look at that angel.
Oh, lovely. Oh, a little angel there as well.
You can't really see it very well. I did some of those, is it fine tech, the mic? When I did put some silver on this one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Just the glint of it, and there's some gold on this one.
Oh yeah, I can see it's beautiful. The colours look amazing. And I love it because I think you probably wouldn't have just drop those colours in normally with the blue and the green.
I don't like this one.
Oh, I like that one.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah.
It looks like a little peachy baby bottom.
I think
ice cream.
Oh, it looks like Neapolitan, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, it does. Yes, ice cream.
Yeah. No, it is. It's very therapeutic and building on, because I did your colour wheel one.
Yeah, definitely.
Building on from that and just
it's a nice way to experiment, isn't it?
It is, yeah. You have to slow down and just try not to think too much as well, because I'm trying to, oh, what should I draw? And it's like, no, just do it.
Definitely, yeah. Well, the project that I've been playing with in my head today is Wild and Reckless Chickens. So that might, so look out for that. But I might be one of those.
Yes.
It's a meditative project where the end result might be a bit reckless. And it might be one of my serial overcommitting projects that doesn't materialise. So tomorrow I'm on chickens. I'll let you know how it goes, everybody.
Just a quick note for anyone who might happen to have elephant poo paper lying around, it doesn't work. I gave it a go. It's like blotting paper.
Okay, so that could be used for a bit of collage then next week.
Yes, yep, I think so. I don't think it's good for anything else.
Oh, bless you. Right, I can see lots of people's heads down, still pushing little bits of watercolor around. Just checking that I haven't missed anyone that would like to share work, because I know it's a bit drippy, the work, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. bit of a drip. Right.
When you're talking about turning the little pieces into cards, which I think would be brilliant, what kind of glue do you use to glue them on?
What sort of glue? Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good question. I don't use a massive amount of glue. I tend to use double-sided sticky tape.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be much easier.
Yeah, I use that for loads of my papercraft projects because I don't end up with glue all over my hands. So I would say double-sided tape, but also I really like the little sticky fixers, the raised foam little craft you can get double-sided. I generally, if I do use glue, I use PVA or like a super strong Pritt Stick glue stick. And I'm assuming that all of you internationally know what PVA is. I guess you have PVA. It's just like a sort of standard school glue. The sort of white stuff that goes transparent. But most of the time it would be double-sided tape.
I was just thinking, because if I was putting something onto a backing of the lovely Indian cardi paper, whether that would be too absorbent for a lot of glues, but as you say, with sticky tape, that'd be fine.
Yes, and cardi paper, I think, it's not too absorbent, I think, because it's got this, it's been sized so well. Having experimented a lot with watercolor and cardi paper, I think that's the most watery you can get, and it doesn't, it's stable. I think that's the term, as a really well-known watercolor paper. I think it's my favorite, actually.
You can buy it in sketchbooks as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
and the other lovely thing is you can get pre-formed cardi paper hearts with an envelope, and they've not been cut out, they've been made as a little heart. And again, those are so lovely for sticking a tiny piece of art on and putting in the envelope. It's like an instant birthday card, and it looks like you've done loads of, I love this stuff that makes it look like I've done loads of work when I haven't. Or that you kind of, embellishes what you've already done. It makes it like, gorgeous. So I know that you can if you go on the Cardi Paper website, it's all on there, but I'll send a link tomorrow in the email. There's a little treasure trove of little shopping items. Oh. Right, Corinna is holding up a pot of,
which is mirrored. It's medium gel.
Do you use that for sticking your matte?
Yeah, you can use it for sticking, and when you can be quite slapdash with it because it dries and you don't see it. You can also mix pigments into it as well. So actually, it's got a whole lot of potential.
Brilliant. I've never been able to stick anything with matte medium before. It never stayed put.
Oh, well, everything sticks, and you have to be quite quick because it sticks. That's it. It's stuck within a minute or two.
Well, I'll have another little go. And for those of you who don't know about matte medium, it is acrylic. It's like acrylic paint with no colour. So it's what they add the pigment of acrylic to be like the base. So they have the colour pigment and then they add that as the base. So it's like transparent paint, basically. And you can use it for sealing surfaces that you can then paint on top of. Obviously, Corinna uses it as a glue, but like she said, you can add other pigments into it. So you can add gouache into acrylic matte medium or watercolour, and it changes the colour and it turns your gouache or watercolour into acrylic waterproof paint. So it's quite a kind of a thing, matte medium. You get and I think you can use Mod Podge like a matte medium. I think basically it's what Mod Podge.
Yes, you can.
So so it's quite a useful little thing. If you like, I like doing collage, so I quite often put a little layer of matte medium over my collage. Right, everybody. Anyone else? I just don't want to leave anyone else out.
Can I ask a really basic, simple question?
Yeah.
I bought myself a really cheap palette because my watercolor doesn't have a mixing area on it.
Yeah.
And I end up with one dome of paint. I don't end up with a nice big puddle like yours. So the moment I dip my brush in to try and mix it, it all mixes up. Is it because it's a new plastic palette or something? Can I rough it up with some sandpaper?
Yeah, do that. That's a really good idea. Why don't you do that? But yeah, I only use really cheap palettes normally from discount bookshop sort of £1 specials. I also really love using enamel camping plates. They're really good. Or even just a white dinner plate from like kind of Tesco value, supermarket value range where it's £1.
Yeah.
Hattie has said I can't see the chat. What did Hattie say? I've used a plastic wallet as a palette with a card inside. So I think that's like the kind of things you'd put in a ring binder. Is that right, Hattie? Like a kind of
the ones I've got are a little bit rough. They're not dead smooth.
And I just use the smooth plastic wallets with a piece of card inside it, and then it sort of it's flat and it sort of glides a bit.
Clever.
I'll try that. That's brilliant. Thank you. Or toothpaste, as Liz said.
Yeah. Oh yeah, toothpaste. Yeah, very good. Oh, it's lovely, isn't it, to share all these different tips?
I think that's the problem. It's just too new and shiny. So I don't end up with a puddle. I end up with a great big dome.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a scientific marvel, but not good for painting.
What about old broken plates? Not broken, cracked plates.
Oh yeah, cracked plates. Have you got any of those?
I was told that it was the best thing to use was actually what we would call china.
China plate, yeah.
Yeah, rather than plastic.
Yeah. Okay. It is, it does seem to sort of do better things with watercolor. I do like the enamel, and even sort of like an enamel pie dish, like a really big one that you make, that goes in the oven. And you can pick up bits like that when we're allowed to go to things like charity shops and car boot sales and thrift sales and all that kind of stuff. That's the place to look out for things like this, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Quite a cool.
Just add something in there I've just been having to rub down lino. I use soft cut lino for lino cuts now, and I was just thinking, rather than using fine sandpaper, that toothpaste might work on there. It's to get that top shiny bit off so that the ink adheres to it properly. But that toothpaste is a really good idea. Thank you.
It's a really good idea. Yeah,
definitely.
Brilliant. And very minty.
Okay, everybody, have we just check in? Have we got anything that anyone else would like to sort of chip in or show? No. Oh well, it's so nice to have spent a bit of time with you this evening, and hopefully there'll be lots of little tiny flowers and little brick walls of watercolor appearing. But like I said, I think it's such a nice thing to. Oh, Kath. I just saw your little hand pop up there. Oh, I'm so glad. And it's literally like a little fairy grotto. This is the other upside of all these Zoom sessions, isn't it? That we get to have a little nose in everybody's houses. Oh, it's gorgeous. Lovely.
Is that homework station?
All right.
Is that the homework station behind you?
Yes.
Well,
yeah, this is work, but it's not. It's not really work. It's joy.
Oh, it's lovely. Oh, our sort of well, Midge's homeschooling area is in her bedroom, but I think mostly from her bed. Going to be a bit of a shock in a couple of weeks when she has to actually get dressed to go to school and have her breakfast before 11 o'clock. That's sort of how it's working in our house now. It's all gone hot. Right, everybody.
I think that goes for teachers too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm dreading it.
Definitely. Are you going to shave your legs this summer? Gonna have to. Gonna have to stop wearing a bra. Well, we've got a couple of guys on here, so definitely you're not going to have to keep wearing.
My husband's in the back every week. We sit back to back in our hobby room, and he just laughs all the way through. He loves it.
They need to sort their manscape out.
Yeah, that's it. A bit of manscaping for you guys. Gavin's going to have to reinstate his mohawk.
Pavescaping, more like.
Get the mower out. Oh dear, Gavin said I'm not allowed to manscape him with my left hand.
Oh, well, I'm hoping that the kids that I teach don't, because I've gone completely grey now since lockdown, they don't have to say to me, "Oh, miss, you need your roots doing."
Oh God. Well, they won't if the root has become all of the hair. Yeah.
Put up a poster of what's that amazing actress who's in her 70s who looks beautiful with amazing white hair. Put her up.
Yeah.
Just have the mask. That's
it.
Oh. Right, guys, I'm gonna let you get to.
Thank you, Lucia.
Thanks, Lucia.
It's been nice to see you, and hopefully I'll see some of you next week.
Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.